Are you over the win yet? Because I still don't think I am. This is today's Arsenal News Show. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys and girls for another episode of what is the Arsenal News Show. Joining you every single morning at 8 a.m. UK time. Thank you so much, as always, for joining me. It's very much appreciated. I hope you're doing good. I hope you're doing well. Very much appreciate you all being here and listening in to today's episode. If you could drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new, that'd be very much appreciated indeed. But kicking off with those of you that are live with us in the chat box, good morning to Matt G, to Morgie, to Paul, Zoom, Knowledge and Carlton and Jitty. We've got Barry and James, Carlton and Morgie and James, more Jameses, more Carltons, more Stevens and Stevies, Micah, Martin and Glenn, Carl. Good morning to you all. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And as I mentioned before, drop a like, subscribe, all the usual YouTubey stuff. But I hope your week's been good, and I hope that you're ready for Thursday. Thursday's a good day. It means there's one more day till Friday, and then it's the weekend. Then there's more football. So thank you to you all for listening. And without further ado, and before we do, let's thank Bakul Lizani for 28 months worth of membership. Fantastic. But let's move into today's stories. It's not as exciting, I'll be honest. I think yesterday was the peak of excitement for the season so far. So I can't promise you the same levels of euphoria. But we are going to talk about all the latest news, of course, off the back of yesterday and kind of the fallout from the game and some more news in and around it as well. But let's first round up the other quarterfinal Champions League first legs. Barcelona absolutely battered Borussia Dortmund 4-0 on the night, leaving Dortmund with a humongous job to do in the next round. But 2 goals from Robert Lewandowski, Rafinha on the score sheet, Lamine Yamal also scoring on the night. A dominant performance, 18 shots, 10 on target, 61% possession. Dominant in every single aspect of the game. Didn't even pick up a single yellow card throughout the entire match either. They are a force. They're top of La Liga right now. They're having a better season than Real Madrid. You'd argue they're the better team of the two. But certainly it is a very, very interesting scenario, I think, for anybody that picks off that gets Barcelona, of course, in the next round. It will be the winner of Bayern Munich against Inter will probably face Barca in the semi-finals on the other side of the bracket. And then, of course, on this side of the bracket, the most relevant game, of course, for Arsenal was the PSG match with Aston Villa. And PSG came out as 3-1 winners on the night in Paris. A late goal of Nuno Mendes. 4 goals of real quality from both teams. Firstly, Morgan Rogers, really good build-up play and good turnover of possession from Villa, and a good creation to find Morgan Rogers in loads of room to finish. But the equaliser from Desiree Doué was just absolutely stunning. What a brilliant piece of ball striking as he clipped one off the crossbar and into the back of the net to equalise. And then Lewis-Skelly, of course, the Georgian winger, really getting his feet under the table now at PSG. Managed to run through, take on several players before firing a shot high past Emi Martinez. I have to say, it's always joyous watching the expression of Emi Martinez when he concedes a goal. It's something that just makes my day a little bit brighter, to be honest, whenever I see that. Because he is just a horrible man. Horrible bloke. But as I mentioned, Nuno Mendes then wraps things up. Another really good finish, cut back, right-footed shot from the left back. And it gives Paris a significant lead going into that next game. And of course, with Arsenal having such a commanding lead going to the Bernabeu, Paris having such a decent lead going to Villa Park, the games are still live. There is still definitely something in both ties, but as of this moment, the most likely outcome is Arsenal against PSG. And if you were asking me, and I think we answered this question yesterday, if indeed I had a preference, if hypothetically and only hypothetically, if Arsenal managed to go through to the next round of the competition, I would have wanted PSG, which sounds nuts because Aston Villa on paper at least you'd look as the weaker team. But I think Arsenal's best chance of winning this competition is to avoid English clubs, because the European teams tend to play more open, other perhaps than Inter Milan, but they tend to play a lot more open. They tend to play a lot more attacking and threateningly, and that gives Arsenal space. That gives Arsenal the ability to do what they do best. And of course, having already beaten PSG this season, although it wasn't the same PSG side that we faced, that we would face, of course, hypothetically in the last 4. But let's get this second leg done first. Let's go to the Bernabeu and secure that victory. But yeah, brilliant stuff. And a really exciting time again. And it's great, isn't it? It's like there's been such a monotony about this season. There's been such a frustration about this season, petering out and fizzling out, and there was a real lack of enthusiasm about where things were. But now things are very, very, very different. And that is an exciting place to be, I think, from an Arsenal point of view. And who knows what might happen. So let's just enjoy the ride as long as it goes. Now, Jorrel Hato, the Ajax defender, has not only been posting on Jurrien Timber's Instagram page, as you can see here, but also has been doing a considerable amount of talking about Jurrien Timber as well in a recent interview. Of course, Arsenal have been linked with the Dutch international defender for quite some time. But speaking to Dutch outlet Voetbal International, he said, I think I've improved a lot this season, especially at left back. Last season, I played a lot of centre back, but this season, I'm just a left back. Yes, I did talk to Jurrien Timber about kind of that change. He made his debut as a full-back and a left as a central defender. And now at Arsenal, he plays everywhere in the back line. He's definitely a role model for me. And we know that Arsenal may indeed want to chase a defender in the summer. It is an area that they may indeed need to find some extra depth and quality, especially if they lose Zinchenko and Kivior and Tomiyasu still out until the end of the season. There's no guarantees. Kieran Tierney, of course, is leaving as well. So I think there is definitely need for Arsenal to go into the market and find somebody. Calafiori, we hope his injuries are going to be behind him when he recovers from this most recent one. But it is, there's the right noises, I guess, coming out. But I think he would be quite expensive. Ajax would definitely be asking for a significant fee for the Dutch international. Arsenal have successfully signed or agreed a deal for 5 members of their backroom staff. This is a really important piece of news and an excellent story by Simon Collins in the Evening Standard. Arsenal have agreed 5 new contracts, as Mikel Arteta indeed is backed by his staff. So Albert Stuvenberg, Carlos Cuesta, Miguel Molina, Iñaki Quena, and Nicolas Jova have all signed new contracts that now run alongside Arteta's and expire in 2027. This is quite an interesting story. The reason why this is interesting is because for quite some time, 2 of Arsenal's coaching staff were being linked with quite significant moves away from the club. Carlos Cuesta was being talked about quite a lot in terms of the Norwich job, although that said, Jack Wilshere's move there, of course, from Arsenal's under-18s, I think closed that door. But Albert Stuvenberg as well was also being talked about a lot. He was actually being linked, I think, with the Ajax job for a period as well. So 2 of those individuals who have been linked with moves away from the club have now signed new contracts, which is really, really, really important. And he was actually asked in December about those behind the scenes. He says, we all tried to do it at the same time. So Arteta, it's difficult because 4 or 5 people committing at the same time is not easy to do. I'm so happy with them and I value them at the highest level and I want to continue together. So hopefully it'll be resolved very soon. That was, of course, back in December. So really, really good news that they have all now agreed and will continue with Arsenal and Arteta until at least 2027. So really good news for Arsenal. And again, another show, I think, of that commitment to Arteta. So those of you, those strange few, have been hoping for an end to Arteta's tenure at the club. Unfortunately, I think you're going to be disappointed with especially this news dropping. And final story to talk about today, Sami Mokbel of the Mail reporting yesterday that Arsenal indeed are holding these key talks with Ethan Nwaneri over a brand new contract. They've set up these talks, no offer or formal discussions yet, but that progress is imminent, and the 18-year-old enters his final year of his current deal this summer. The club is also talking to Myles Lewis-Skelly over an extension. So there is a real feeling that both of Arsenal's two young stars will sign and commit their long-term futures to the club, which is really, really good news as well. So lots of positivity this morning. Really good to see that after, of course, the excitement of Tuesday night. Let's go to part two now. Your questions and more right after this. Okay, this is part two of the show now, where we jump into the chat box and we tackle some of your thoughts, your questions, your queries, your theories, and more. So if indeed you've got a question that you'd like to throw into the chat, now is the time to do so. So if we could drop them into the chat box as soon as feasibly possible, that would be great. Right. Let's scroll up a little bit just to get some reactions to some of the stuff we were talking about in part one. Stevens has agreed, Tom, about wanting to face PSG based on having our defence and the fullbacks as they are solid. Komodo Dragon says, yep, the European teams play attacking. Sans the Italian clubs, of course, and so that would suit us more. Jonathan says PSG is levels above Villa, no brainer. We would prefer Villa. So Jonathan would have rather played Aston Villa than PSG. Paul says, Hato, come and join the party. Boston says, sign Hato. Amberley says, interesting. Seems he likes what he sees as well with Hato. And Sadiq says, Hato would be a great signing. Reinders, also the midfielder, of course, the Dutch midfielder. Good option for left centre mid. More Dutch players are needed. Amira says, so many corners, but 2 free kicks was all it took for Jova to get that pay rise. Isn't it funny how there was this kind of feeling about set piece FC and Real Madrid really scared about us scoring from corners, scoring from crosses and free kicks in wide areas. Well, it turns out we've now added the ability to score directly from free kicks, which is a scary thing, not just from Real Madrid, but I think for the wider context of the league. And now we have a free kick specialist in Declan Rice in our midst. eBay says, hi, Tom. Glad to see all the Arteta outers have gone into hiding. I think that next word probably would have been, yes. Isn't it funny? It's the fair weather fandom, but it's reversed. So it's not they come out when things are going well. You only notice them really having any amount of relevance when things aren't going well. If Arsenal are doing really well, you barely hear a peep. You know, their clips don't get shared. They're not angrily screaming at their cameras. And they're not jumping into chat boxes and comment sections being weird. So, it is funny, isn't it? Ashley says, watch the game again. Partey, Myles Lewis-Skelly were ridiculous. Their preparation when receiving the ball from Raya's defence, the way they slowed down and sped up the passes and running the ball was magnificent. Amberley says, sign the ting, Ethan. Absolutely. Anne says, it's good, but I think it's also good to shake up your coaching staff and to introduce new ideas and methods and to evolve. I don't think that it's I don't think Arsenal are necessarily closed to the idea that Arsenal would not entertain extra members of the coaching team. I think you remember those Gabriel Ainse links before. I think Arteta would be open to more ideas if they found the right person. SN says, Tom, did you see the reports that Liverpool are in pole position for Isak if Newcastle don't get Champions League? Do you think that we'll be in the mix too, or that Liverpool will go for it? I think Arsenal's hopes of signing Isak, regardless of whether Liverpool are involved or not, is very, 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 very slim. I think Arsenal have, in my mind, or at least certain the noise that I hear, Arsenal have probably even already begun to look elsewhere other than Isak. I'd be utterly shocked if Isak joined Arsenal. If he leaves, Liverpool makes the most sense, I think. I think they have more money to spend on fewer positions than we do. I think that it's very unlikely Arsenal sign Isak in the summer. Amberley says, if Isak leaves this summer, I'll be very shocked, and Newcastle are probably going to get Champions League football anyway. Paul says, did our performance come with ups and downs? Will we be more attractive to players, but also have to pay a premium for players we go after because we are so good? I don't think it changes too much of what we already knew, does it, Paul? We are what we are. We are, I think, if anything, more attractive to players. Once you've watched as a club, as a player, watched the team that maybe is interested in you smash Real Madrid 3-0, I think that can only be a good thing for the transfer window for Arsenal. players, if we were going to go for them, are always going to come with a significant kind of premium on them. So that's really, really, really important. Robert says, reality check. Tuesday was special, but it's half time. Next Wednesday, we need the best performance of the season so far. PSG looks slick and exciting. Matt G says, hey, Tom, remember that day when we beat the Champions League holders without a striker? It was great, wasn't it? I don't know if you saw my tweet. I texted the missus about midday. Said, did you see what happened last night? She was like, what happened? So Arsenal smashed Real Madrid. Like, yes, I know. He didn't stop talking about it all day. Matt says, hey, Tom. Oh, sorry, we've done that one, but I mean, it's worth pointing out again. Dennis says, I can't lie. After watching this week's UCL quality across all the ties, I don't want to go back to the ghetto that is the Premier League. PGMOL have actually made me despise this league a lot this season. Thank you, Temi, for the kind donation. Hello, Tom. What if all works out and we win the Champions League? How gargantuan should the Arteta statue be? Good question. Good question. Oliver Young says, who do you least want to play in the UCL final? Least one? I think Inter Milan. No, part of me thinks Bayern just because of PTSD reasons. But I think Inter Milan. I think Inter Milan are the team that are most suited to beating Arsenal. They've already done it this season, of course, and I know that we had a decent game there. But I just think in a one-off game across two legs, I'd probably back Arsenal to do it at home, in particular against Inter. But in a one-off game, I feel like our best chance is against your Barças, your Bayerns of this world, not Inter Milan. So I think Inter are my least one I would want to play. But if Arsenal do, and it's still a big if, there's a long, long way to go. Barcelona are the nostalgia of that potential final is something rather special. I don't want to play Bayern. I'm just so sick of Bayern. They seem to have our number, and they have a real confidence. And we have a bit of a mental block, I think, with Bayern. Barcelona is a different kettle of fish, and I'd be very intrigued to see how we would get on. Maximus says, Tom, Lewis-Skelly is a genuine baller. Do you think that we may have missed a trick? It's not about missing a trick there. Arsenal, that deal with PSG was done. Like, I know it was reported quite broadly during the January window. I did a little bit of digging around it afterwards. That deal was kind of in the works for a long time. So Arsenal never really missed a trick because it was not even one that we were going to be entertaining. I think the wages also on that side of things are worth it. And to be fair, yes, he had a great goal yesterday, but his kind of numbers have not been amazing since moving to PSG this season. He's only got 2 goals in 10 Liga games and 3 assists as well. So, you know, it's not. I mean, Miko Marino has been doing more for Arsenal in the league than Lewis-Skelly has been doing for PSG in Liga. So I think that provides some context. Pure Vibe says, if our backroom staff are getting new contracts, why are there delays with Ethan and Lewis-Skelly? How much should they get an increase to from the 4K? I'd say they need to go to 30K. I don't know what their exact wages are. I think it probably would be more than that, even if it was going to the tens of thousands a week. I think it would be more than that. So yeah, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what's gonna go down, but hopefully it should be soon. But yeah, you don't need to conflate the two about backroom staff and players. It's two very different aspects, and one takes a lot longer than another. And as we reported in the first part, the Athletic suggesting that those deals are kind of in December, already wrapped up. Just takes time for them to get announced properly. Josh says, no, they're all blaming Arteta, the Arteta outers, for not making Rice take free kicks all this time, as it means to still be angry. Reaching. Got to reach for something to be angry about. Akintobi says, looks like we have to go through PSG and likely Barca to win the Champions League. If we do win it, it has to be the toughest road to victory in recent times. Real Madrid, PSG, maybe Barcelona. Wow. Incredible. But that's what you have to do. I mean, no team really is winning the Champions League without beating some of the best clubs in the world. Chunho says, Tom, what percentage chance do you think we have of winning the Champions League if we get past Madrid? 33.3333%. I'll go with. There'll be 3 teams that we have. Well, yeah, it'll be us, PSG or Villa, and then one of Barcelona, Bayern, and Inter. So yeah, I'll go with 33%, Chunho. I'll really play the numbers. Ryan says, so what's the plan now? All in on the Champions League, resting key players in the Premier League, figures possibly losing second spot. I mean, no, our running is very good. Our running is favourable for us, and we've opened up a 5-point gap to Nottingham Forest in fifth already. We've got enough, I think, to rotate and still get important victories as well in the league. I think it's important to keep that momentum going, but rest players as well. I wrote a piece this morning about what Arsenal's team could look like for that game. So that's going to be very, very interesting indeed. I did send in a quick question to UEFA this morning about suspensions. And I know there's been a lot of confusion about, and I've noticed a few comments on yesterday's video as well about this situation, about whether Timber, Rice and Martinelli, whether or not if they get a yellow card in the second leg, are they going to miss the first leg of the semi-final? Now, so many people were saying it, even I started to question my own knowledge of this. And so I put a text into UEFA this morning, or a contact of mine at UEFA, just to get some clarity on this. And indeed, yes, if Rice or Timber or Martinelli are booked in the Bernabeu, they will miss the first leg of the semi-final. Every other yellow card is scrapped up until that point. Partey, I need to check Partey's number of yellow cards because he got booked in the first leg against Real Madrid as well. So let me just check how many yellow cards Partey has also. So he also has 2. So Partey also joins that group. So if Partey was to be booked, if Rice was to be booked, if Martinelli was to be booked, or if Jurriën Timber was to be booked in the game against Real Madrid, they would miss the first leg of the semi-final. I know the rules are really confusing. I know it's confused a lot of people, but that is the reality. So yes, that is what we're expecting. So, yeah, I mean, what more to say? That is it. Mira says casually sends a text to UEFA. What can I say? Sadiq says Real Madrid are under pressure in the league. Barca 4 points clear, 8 games to go. Real still have a chance to win La Liga. They won't rest many. Yeah, they have to win their game at the weekend. Absolutely, they cannot afford to rest too many. I may rest some, but I think they'll recognise that La Liga maybe is slightly more winnable at this stage. Davis says people saying that we have to do well in the league phase and after doing so, we get Real Madrid, PSG, and Barca. I mean, yes, but Damien, it was really important that we missed that playoff round. It means we got PSV, in that round of 16, a team that we managed to beat 9-3 on aggregate. So I think it was important that we did do well. And we got more money from that process. Will help in the summer, you would hope, with transfers. So that's very, very important. Andy says, from the first semi-final, we shouldn't be able to play all the games bar getting 2 yellow cards in one game or a straight red. So in the semi-final, everything is wiped. So Rice on 2, Partey on 2, Timber on 2, Martinelli on 2. It is all wiped. So they won't have to worry about getting a yellow in the second. The only way that you can miss a final is if you get a red card, either a straight red card in the first leg, I think. I don't know how many get. It might be a 2-game ban for a straight red card. I can't quite remember. Or if you get a red card through 2 bookings in the second leg of the semi, you would miss the final. So I think that's very, very important to point out. But thank you for your questions on all of the rules. It's definitely been something I think that's confused quite a lot of people. And so now you know. Now you know that's how it needs to be changed and how you need to be aware of suspensions for these games that are coming up. Red card is 1. Thank you, Alex. The timestamp guy says all yellow cards expire on completion of the quarterfinals. They are not carried forward. Yeah, but the suspensions are. So if you get 3 yellows in the second leg, timestamp guy says you are wrong. I've texted you UEFA. I don't know what on earth you want me to do. If you get 3 yellow cards in your second leg of your quarterfinal, you will miss the first leg of the semi-final through suspension. So I can't say it any clearer than that. I know it's confusing on the website. I know it's confusing in the rule book, but that is the line. So just be aware of that. Amaral Gunner says, Tom, there's not a chance one of those won't get booked. The crowd will pressure the referee throughout, which got to be really careful. Josh says, source, literally UEFA. Great comment. Might be my favourite comment of the day, Josh. Joe says, well, let's wait and see. I'm sure if Arsenal get to the final, we will test what constitutes players missing a final. Chino says, the league phase shows that we need to finish in the top 8 to avoid an additional game. Finishing first or 8th is not really critical. I think it's slightly more important to finish higher up because you can get those better teams, but it's not like a guarantee. I think it's important that you finish in the top 8 as a priority, but finishing really high in the top 8, maybe not as much as it is just getting in the top 8. Jamsey says, a lot of people said they preferred PSG over Villa, but am I the only one worried about the fluidity of their attack and the speed they go from back to front? Reminds me of a classic Wenger ball. Amberley says, can't play with fear or possible bans, though, especially at the Bernabeu. Absolutely. Joe says, there's no reasons why we can get bookings or why we get bookings with 3-0 up. It can happen, though. If they're under pressure, if you're stopping a transition, sometimes you forget where you are. Rice on a yellow card. He just scored. His confidence was up. Fouled in the middle of the box. It could have been another yellow card. Partey as well had to be, I think, be careful of getting a second yellow on the day. There was a moment where I thought he was going to get booked again. Thankfully, he didn't. Maximius says, Tom, your views on Delap availability and a cut price deal if Ipswich are relegated looks good for a backup striker. I mean, £40 million is a lot of money. So I don't think Delap for a backup is going to happen. Plus, why would he come to a club to be a backup again? I think he's got the idea of playing. He was a backup at City. He didn't want to do that anymore. If he leaves for a club, I think it'll be to play. I don't think that's going to happen at Arsenal. Mark says, what do you hear about how the rehab is going for Calafiori, Jesus, Tomiyasu, Havertz and Gabriel? Calafiori hopefully back soon. Jesus, Tomiyasu, Havertz and Gabriel, their seasons are over. So I don't expect any updates on those four. Their seasons are done. But Calafiori hopefully may be back next week. We will have to wait and see. Critch says, what did you think of the refereeing in the first half? I felt it was good as they kept it running, but then it was a bit inconsistent. I thought it was poor. I'll be honest with you. Better than the Premier League, but that's not exactly a high bar. I really do think that the ref really got a few of those big calls in the free kicks, and he gave some free kicks to Madrid that weren't free kicks. It didn't give us free kicks that were free kicks. So it was inconsistent, but it was still better than Darren England at Everton. That was one of the worst refereeing performances I've ever seen. And again, we'll have to deal with that at the weekend. Joseph Tom, the final of the Champions League is the Allianz. That's perhaps another reason not want to face Bayern. Absolutely. Amaral Gunner says, Tom, Liverpool finished first, got PSG, and our out-finishing position is all about other teams as well. Yeah, I know what you mean. I think it's unlikely that will happen as much in the future. I think gradually that gap will widen between the best teams and the teams at the bottom of that. But yeah, we will wait and see. I just think it's a priority to finish in the top 8. It's less of a priority to finish as high up in the top 8 as possible. And he says, what are the chances that we rotate a full 11? I need Jorginho, Zinni, Sterling leading a bunch of kids against Brent. I don't think Saliba and Kivior can rest, can they? I don't think we can change our centre-half pairing. I don't think we've got a choice. We don't have depth. Unless Calafiori is miraculously back, I don't think we have the choice but to play Saliba and Kivior. The piece I wrote this morning, the lineup that I said Arsenal could go for, was Raya in goal, White at right back, Saliba, Kivior, Tierney, Jorginho, Zinchenko, Ødegaard, Nwaneri, Trossard, Sterling. That was the team that you could go for, which means that you rest Timber, you rest Lewis-Skelly, you rest Rice, you rest Partey, you rest Saka, you rest Marino, and you rest Martinelli. That's 7 players being rested. So I'd be fine with starting that team against Brentford. But I don't think we can really afford to rotate the centre halves. There isn't really much of an opportunity to do that. James says, anyone else feel like the ref was calling a lot in the Real Madrid's favour in the first leg? Could be worth highlighting for the Bernabeu. Yeah, the Bernabeu and referees. Let's wait and see. Trevor says, why are you worried about bookings? The semis, all bookings start from, I don't know how many times. How many times? I don't really get how many times I have to say this or explain this again. Do you want me to read you the exact message? I can read you the exact message if you like. I'll read you the exact message what I sent to my contact at UEFA. Hey, hope you're well. It's Tom from football.london. We met each other in Eindhoven. It was a pleasure to meet you. I have a quick question about UEFA suspensions. Rice, Timber, and Martinelli are all still on 2 yellow cards. If they were booked for a third time in the second leg of the quarterfinal, would they be banned for the first leg of the semi-final if they went through? Reply. Good morning, Tom. Let me double check. Thank you. Reply again 20 minutes later. Yes, they would need to be careful. In response to my question, would they be banned? Yes, was the answer. I don't know how clearer I can put that to people to make you understand. I am at the end of my tether when it comes to trying to explain the situation. So there you go. Absolutely unbelievable. It's nuts, really, isn't it? Right. I don't like people spreading misinformation in the chat, so you can get gone. Amira says, Tom getting PTSD from his teaching days when students wouldn't listen to what he was saying. Without a doubt, Amira, that is exactly how it feels. 100% how it feels. Matt says, Tom, can you please clarify the yellow card suspensions? I'm still confused. Matt says, Tom, why are you so worried about the bookings? Wilson says, Tom, why on earth are you ranting? Bloody hell. I can't help it, mate. It's just one of those things that you say something over and over and over and over. And Joe says, do yellow cards in the Premier League transfer over to the Champions League, Tom? Ask someone yourself. Ask someone yourself, mate. Anyway, thank you so much for another winding up session. I very much appreciate your time. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic Thursday, and I will speak with you tomorrow morning. I hope to, at least. I need to double check when the press conference. Do I know when the press conference is? Let me have a quick look. When is the presser? The presser is in. When is the presser? 1 p.m. Okay, yeah, fine. Okay, so yeah, I will be able to do a show for you tomorrow morning. Lovely stuff. Thank you for listening, people. I hope that we get how suspensions work now, and I will speak to you all tomorrow morning. Have a great day. Enjoy yourself. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful. And as always, up the Arsenal.